With multiple options to pick a client for node running, Ethereum is the most decentralized blockchain network. The merge upgrade makes it mandatory to run an execution client to participate as a validator. We hope today's talk will help you learn about execution client provider that may become your favorite client for node running. Welcome to PEEPanEIP episode 79. I am Pooja Ranjan, and with me is a very special guest and the lead engineer of Nethermind, Tomasz Stańczak.
Hi everyone. Hi Pooja.
So Nethermind is an Ethereum execution client. As per the website description, it is built on .NET Core, and Nethermind clients runs on Linux, Windows, Mac OS, and supports Click, Aura, Ethash, and proof of stake consensus algorithm. It is a robust client for Ethereum node operators built for performance and versatility. We'll get to learn more about Nethermind in this episode with Tomasz. Thank you for joining us, Tomasz.
Thank you once again. Welcome everyone. So I'll be talking about Nethermind and the merge. I think that much of it will be about the road to the merge, how we participated in testing, how we started, all the important events and important people internally at Nethermind that worked on this quite extensive set of changes and lots of testing. So thanks everyone for listening. And let me start by some introduction of myself, of the team, company, and tell you a bit more of a story. So my name is Tomasz Stańczak. I started Nethermind project 5 years ago now, and altogether, so I'm wearing more and more hats nowadays. Every few months, there is something new, interesting that contributes to the Ethereum ecosystem as a whole that I got interested in. So I keep leading the Nethermind as a company, and nowadays Nethermind client is a part of it, important and big part of it, but part because there is much more. I'm also made at Flashbots, so working on product management, architecture of some of the MEV infrastructure related components at Flashbots. And as you will see, this is all relevant for the merge as well. Much of the work at Flashbots that I was working on is also related to products like MEV Boost. I'm founder at Euler, and I'm also on the Forta Governance Council. And those two roles are less relevant for the merge, but you may see myself in this context on many occasions. So let me maybe talk about Nethermind history. And a bit of the growth. That's much of it is really thanks to the fantastic community of people that helped us on the early stages, help us through all the mistakes and learning that I and the team were going through. So Nethermind started in August 2017 as a bootstrap project out of interest and love for the idea of the Ethereum blockchain and decentralization of finance and governance and like borderless economics. So it went through a very small angel investment round, but mostly was supported, mostly bootstrapped and with grants from products like Gitcoin and DeFi teams that helped all the execution clients. Ethereum Foundation helped a lot. And also over time, we entered into collaboration with multiple partners, just to name Nosis, Flashbits, Starkware, and many more, Energy Web. So the first crypto winter for Nethermind was extremely tough. I think that maybe in a few hundred years, when they cut me through, they will see there's like marks of the winters and summers, like it will be probably very, very visible. The last 2 years were fantastic. So we are growing both in revenue and headcount. As a company nowadays, we are profitable. We work with the clients in blockchain space, in the industry, but also in traditional finance space. We're helping them to build and understand blockchain. And the everything starts with the core team that was building the Nethermind Ethereum client. And this is also the team that mostly worked on the merge in the last year. So the merge, really in the early days, these were 3 people that were dedicating full time of theirs to the merge. But nowadays it's maybe around 15 people on the core team who work on the merge in various ways, like contributing with fixes, testing, just communicating with the community, supporting for research, building infrastructure, testing, and so on. So infrastructure part in the merge is massive. So this is a big and important component, and you will see that probably for the full success of the merge on the mainnet, the infrastructure and configurations will be super important. The broader core team at Nethermind is around 25 people, and they work also on projects like Energy Web, Nosis, Juno, Voyager, so all the things that are related to protocol engineering. Nethermind is a company nowadays, it's over 160 people, and practically all of them contribute and work on Ethereum. So as a company, we remain loyal to Ethereum, and we barely touch other chains. We touch them like when running some validators infrastructure, when comparing and investigating, running like tech due diligence and some research. But all our building nowadays is mostly related to Ethereum in the sense of we touch the layer 2s that contribute to Ethereum, we touch side chains, we touch Ethereum itself, we research implementations of the new solutions like prototyping and so on. And you see a long list of the things that we do within the DeFi space, security, so auditing and formal verification, also some monitoring agents in collaboration with Forda, working on MEV and on multiple projects. And the team is all remote, working from over 40 countries around the world with like full flexibility of hours, time. Like we carry all that freedom and flexibility from the early days towards this like much bigger company nowadays. And once again, I mean, without the support of the community, that would not be possible. I mean, we only survived the staff crypto winters because people were there, people listened and helped us to make Ethereum succeed as well. And also super important for us, since last April, we got 200 internships at Nethermind, where people stayed up to 3 months and chose any projects they wanted to work on and contributed to many, and including various MEV projects, hackathons related, the merge projects, hackathons related to the merge. Some of them were binding, both MEV and merge. That's why I'm saying that interchangeably sometimes. Okay, fantastic. So how we started to work on the merge. The April 2021, that was practically the first big test when people started talking about connecting execution clients and the consensus layer clients. So there was this a big push for showing something, showing the first DevNet, and it was during the Rayonism event. The DevNet there was called Stiklo, and also during the same event, we were building something that was called like ray tracing team, if2 MEV, and we were combining the ideas of MEV from the Flashbots research, the engineering of the client solutions and plugins at Nethermind, and the Lido liquid staking. So that team was winning an award at ETH Global Scaling Ethereum, which was part of this Rayonism, like the same event at which the Rayonism was running. And for Rayonism, we also recorded the set of tutorials that were showing how to run the early stages of the merge. They were all based on some of the tutorials that were built by Proto Lambda, and Łukasz recorded some that you can watch nowadays on YouTube, although much of that information is now outdated. Still there are some things, a few hundred views, so I think that many people learned a lot how to configure early client solutions from those recordings. Then fast forward to October 2021, and thanks to the sponsors that brought everyone together to fantastic on-site in Greece. There was Amphora Interop with this famous picture of the first major success of people running everything together. So it's a few days when we were tracking the progress of various interoperability between the consensus layer, execution layer. So think about this as 25 different combinations nowadays, or 20. And you have to, one by one, we were just running between the tables and trying and pushing each other to try a bit harder to see if it works. And it was this like first good memory success, and very important event for everyone to understand that for the next few months, whenever you'll be reaching out to others to just ask for help or ask for discussion, you'll no longer think of just some random people in the internet, but you'll remember those stories, I don't know, dinners, drinks, playing football, playing games from that event. And I'm pretty sure that helped a lot for people to just think like, yeah, I definitely want to be nice for that person because I remember all the good moments. So it helped all the teams to integrate, to build together, and that since October all the way to now is helping us testing and move faster. 2021, 2022, so the last many months since Amphora, lots and lots of different testnets, devnets, shadow forks, like merges, but these are not the merge. This is a merge or something. That's we're still waiting for the big one, or maybe like 2 last big ones with the Kerli, finalizing all the testnets transition and the mainnet merge. And I think that we should not be telling the dates, but recently, obviously, it's quite public that the most likely dates are somewhere mid-September. That's what the core devs were targeting officially publicly. Obviously, we'll see how it goes. We have to be absolutely sure that everything is ready, that the community is ready, that the configurations are ready, and that there'll be no mistakes. We still see problems when running shadow forks. They are getting better and better each time, but they are not perfect. So obviously, we want to be absolutely sure to see some shadow forks that go without any issues whatsoever. And then we are confidently going through the merge process on the mainnet. So you see the list of all the changes. We're starting with Kintsugi, the beautiful name reflecting to the, I think, the Japanese art of fixing broken containers, faces, and then coming back with the names of like Kiln and then building the first merge devnets, Kerli shadow forks, mainnet shadow forks. Nowadays we have the 8th shadow fork of the mainnet, and we went through Ropsten and Sepolia, right? Sepolia was, as the time and I'm speaking, was yesterday, so we was super fresh after Sepolia, still looking at the and like what went slightly wrong, what went well, and verifying if everything looks the way it really is, because sometimes the tools that we have for visualization might be tricked into like wrong forks and so on. All right, so also Nethermind's team was involved a bit more in defining the IP 5133. So obviously this is just a formality, but I think it was fantastic at Nethermind that we got some of the people at internship involved into writing the spec for the IP, for testing all the Python scripts, for writing some nice data model for this final difficulty bomb delay, writing finally quite a good analysis of what exactly we should expect, like what kind of delay we should expect. So like congrats to all of those fantastically talented people at Nethermind that's come for the internship and immediately just get included in the IP and got their IP approved and go for the hard work. So what the difficulty bomb means is that we simply wanted to stabilize the block times without really moving the plan for the release date of the merge. So I think the difficulty bomb itself doesn't change anything at all about the release mid-September, but it tells us that at mid-September, instead of having some 20, 21 seconds blocks that are growing and are a bit unpredictable because the growth rate is exponential, we will have the relatively stable mainnet where we'll be going through the merge transition, for the merge forks transition. So I'm providing here a list of people that participated in the merge from Nethermind side, and there are many more than those that you would see on the screen. I'll read those names for those of you who cannot read slides. Why I think it's super important, apart from obviously recognizing the contributions, I think the merge process in the last year brought to light a lot of new core devs that they were like starting a new generation. I mean, like through the crypto winter, we had this all these people who participated in the previous forex were preparing that, and then somehow the merge and the amount of work that was needed give opportunity to many people to just like show how skillful they are and how much they can lead the execution layer clients development in the future. So I'm super happy to see so many talented and dedicated people at Nethermind who contributed. And they were pushing so hard for the like long nights and days to get some testnets on time, to get the deliveries on time, to fix, and so on and so on. So since Amphora, Marek Moraczynski was leading the merge at engineering at Nethermind. Mateusz Jędrzejewski was running all the leading the infrastructure testing, setting up things, also testing our infrastructure with MEV Boost, preparing, running all the validators on our side. Sarah Liu was testing, preparing post-merge sync. So if you think about what is post-merge sync problem, the synchronization was always one of the hardest items on the engineering list for any core development effort on the execution layer clients. You have to be fast. It's extremely complex process of downloading a lot of data from multiple network peers in parallel, verifying everything is correct, building quite significant sizable databases locally, and also trying to stay up to date with all the innovations from other teams. So like it's really the race between different teams, but also race against time of the growing state that makes synchronization such a challenging thing. So like probably if we had only one client, we would be 10 times worse, but also synchronization will be easier process. You wouldn't have to rush it. So Sarah spent a lot of time on the post-merge sync. So how we synchronize the clients equally effectively and safely after the merge happens. Then Łukasz Ozmej was leading a lot of development at Nethermind for a long time already before the merge. And during the merge first, he really kickstarted everything with his push to Rayonism, the first implementation, the first plugins for the merge, something that he was presenting all the way back in 2021. And then he also led the team really from the background to help to solve the toughest problems, went through the Hive test together with Marcin Sobczak, and you can track also lots of his comments on Twitter of like really what Nethermind is doing and how the merge process is going. And I think that we see those people more and more active also on the all core dev calls, and it's simply great. I mean, I remember the times when it was 6, 7 people on all core devs, and nowadays we have maybe 40, but also many of them are coming with lots of knowledge and contribution and fantastic discussions. Then we have great people from the infra and core team like Miguel Tenorio, who's nowadays building a tool called OneClick, and this is for a very easy setup for solo validators to run the entire deployment of the validator, the beacon chain client, and the execution. So all the consensus layers pieces and the execution layer together. Like this complexity of setting up everything is growing a bit, right? So if you want to be a solo validator running execution layer, you have 3 or 4 components, and then maybe you want to run MEV Boost as well. deploying all of that together, configuration, it's a major effort. So Miguel is working on one click. And then we have Jorge Menderos, who is working on something that is pretty important for us. We work together with Nosis chain to push for the opportunity to run the merge on Nosis chain, which is the network with significant value on the network. So it's a mainnet, Nosis mainnet of a side chain of Ethereum that will transition to the same format as Ethereum with its own set of validators. And that effort can help a lot to verify like how post-merge workings of the entire network look when you actually have value and when something can be attacked because of the potential value extraction. Also, it puts a lot of pressure on us, I think, because Nethermind is nowadays the only client that will support Nosis during the transition. And well, like there's no chance that if we fail, that someone will take over. So it has to be properly tested. Well, everything has to be properly tested, but here, like there's no security from the client diversity. After the merge, the other clients will join, and the Nosis chain will be multi-clients again. What are people of the merge for Nethermind? So all the community members that were testing, helping us fix things, contributing, like sending PRs. That's extremely motivating always that people are there and they try and they use the Nethermind nodes. I think nowadays we have around 3% of the nodes on the mainnet, and this is growing. So I really encourage you to try Nethermind, to talk to us. There's also people on our side that can help you to run it properly, to answer any questions, and to resolve any problems that you may encounter. I'll help you with configurations for sure. This will be a big thing. More people of the merge. So Martin's object was going through like hundreds or thousands of Hive tests, both the traditional ones, fixing every single one of them in the end. And now going also through the tests of the transition, the merge. Christoph Gajo was working on the account abstraction and combination of that with MEV and the merge, and he was helping us a lot with product management and Amphora. You can see him presenting on various conferences nowadays. And why I mention account abstraction also in context of the merge, because the team is already thinking about what happens next, right? So we'll have the set of VIPs that will be very important, obviously, for the merge itself, like the withdrawals of the deposits, all the IPs that come in Shanghai. And then account abstraction feels like next to Berkel trees is one of those really big items that are long-term dream of what we can deliver to improve Ethereum. So please listen to whatever Christoph is sharing at the conference. It's interesting. Jared Doro, so he has been with the Ethereum cat herders for a long time, was helping us a lot with the Q&A, so all the tests internally, running the networks, verifying everything works well. Daniel Zaleda came and delivered like super fast this SnapSync client that nowadays allows the Nethermind client to practically spend 3 hours in sync and then be ready to process the blocks on the mainnet. So it's massive improvement. I mean, I remember when we implemented fasting the first time, it was around 4 or 5 hours. Then the state was growing. I think it extended to around 20 hours. And now we're back to this like great sync times. Of course, thanks to amazing effort from the GAF team that we build on top of, right? Like we use the spec and GAF delivers the servers for that. So fantastic. Nikita Meshcheryakov, so he was working on the authorization. So we're using now the JWT for the auth between the consensus layer clients and execution layer clients. Then we had Carlos Bermudez working on infrastructure and testing of the network, and Ashraf joined us recently, and he already made a lot of contributions. So the team is growing. Like it's particularly recently at Nethermind, we brought around 10 new members. 10 new team members to the core team that will work specifically on the Nethermind Ethereum client. And this is also thanks to the grant from Nosis chain to work on improvements that are needed for Nosis. So I think there'll be lots delivered soon and in the next months and years. And last, we see lots of people on the internship that I already mentioned that worked on ray tracing, on the hackathons, the merge testing, infra, EIP 5133. Thanks for listening to that list, because those people really deserve that. I mean, they were pushing really long hours to get that on time. And they keep doing that with this like September calendar date looming over. All right, so maybe a few more things about Nethermind client, a bit of summary of what I may have already mentioned. So nowadays with Snap Sync, so if you launch it, this is a default sync and it brings you in around 3 hours, possibly. Obviously, depending on the machine setup, but this is without like too heavy requirements, 3 hours to being operational mainnet. The plugins ecosystem that's on Nethermind is used nowadays by many of the like MEV searchers who just write add ability to access the mempool and the block production and simulation very quickly for the plugins to Nethermind. The MEV support that is built in, so the same way as there is MEV gap, so there is version of Nethermind that allows for simulation. Like Nethermind doesn't support mining on proof of work, never has, but it has the MEV support and it can be used for any block builders post-merge. And it was used also for the other chains, side chains, acknowledge chain. We have full pruning, so the only necessary state is being stored with full pruning, which actually occasionally can clean the database. It makes a copy of the database, pushes everything there that is needed, and deletes the old database, and can run like once per week, for example. Generally, Nethermind was always loved for the low disk requirements. It can skip a lot of block bodies and receipts from the past. So the initial sync is pretty light. And we have the very fast JSON RPC with probably an order of magnitude faster get logs. Some crazy optimizations there from a few years back. We were preparing that for the Dark Forest game. So like Nethermind nodes were providing like the RPC support for the Dark Forest invocations, and they run the calculations as like tens of millions of gas and from hundreds or thousands of users with probably like billions of requests when we were counting, and all of that was running on Nethermind, and we're optimizing it, making it better and better. So much of that is coming now to any user of Nethermind node. And obviously Aura PostDAO support nowadays with Open Ethereum not being supported anymore, we remain as the only implementation they're supporting those chains. Account abstraction that I mentioned from Christoph and his team, like Jorge also worked on this. And this was delivered by Nethermind, not only for Nethermind client, but also for the GAF client. So we provided 2 implementations in .NET and in Golang. So there is like MEVAA GAF that we have for a fork of deployed. What is coming to Nethermind client? So we'll be working on the new StateDB layout, the snapshots, the SnapSync server. So like what's currently only in GAF will be coming to Nethermind. The vertical trees for the improvements like towards the stateless clients. We'll be heading towards the gas limit increase of blocks on Nosis. So we'll be running Nosis together with Aragon and supporting potentially much larger blocks and showing that's possible. And lots of tools supporting proof of stake and infrastructure like OneClick and Posmoni, which is a monitor for the proof of stake nodes. So here it is, like one by one. So first the merge. This is one goal for us now, and practically being compatible with all consensus clients, supporting the merge and full history before the merge. Then deploying those tools that I mentioned, OneClick, Posmoni for all the solo stakers, and anybody who's monitoring the network. We run a lot of infrastructure ourselves. So these are tools that we can use in some occasions. Like some of them are more for solo staker, some of them are for larger operators. Then the subsync server will be coming, the state snapshots, and all the increases that will lead to much better, leaner, faster clients. And I think we're just keeping this race going between all of the execution layer clients, which is much, much needed for innovation improvements. So yeah, invitation to stay in touch. Please reach out to us, to anybody from the team. And that's from me, and I'm open to any questions from Pooja, from community.
Great presentation. Thank you for sharing this. I know Nethermind is relatively new, yet it is very popular in the Ethereum community. And it is a preferred choice for many consensus layer client for the post-merge combination like EL and CL. So we'll get to that part in a few minutes. I have a few questions that I have collected from the community, though the presentation was thorough enough and it shared a lot of information. So my first question is, out of curiosity, you did mention that Nethermind does not support mining. I know Nethermind is currently involved with Ethereum research, the account abstraction, MAV, Merkle tree, and everything that you mentioned. Then why not mining?
I think when I go back to delivering all the different properties, functionalities of a client, like building it throughout 2018, 19, there was a lot to deliver. And mining was always just like one thing where I was afraid that it would be so hard to convince miners to switch. Like if they're cozy, they're running at that time parity and gas. I thought it would be a lot of work and potentially additional effort on building up these relationships with miners. And I think that's what I was afraid of, that it will not be used. So that's why it never got priority. We always had a bounty open on Gitcoin to build it. And I think for a long time, like we pushed there initially some relatively small amount of 8 ETH. And then it grew to like significant amount, but nobody picked it up. So we just withdrew it later when we realized that the merge is happening already. So I decided to no longer think of mining. Well, looking back, if I knew, I would probably build mining much earlier and maybe pick up the time when parity was being decommissioned, especially as this like the dream of something like MEV was in my head for a long time. So so you'll have to see nowadays flashbots running with Nethermind nodes. So it was missed opportunity and a great pain. Yeah, so like we had to resign from some things. It was like for a long time. Like I'm talking now about 160 people, but it used to be 2 or 3 people trying to deliver a lot, building the entire client implementation and also trying to build a company that will be able to support itself without always forever asking for grants. Like we wanted to build something that will be driven by what people need. And I thought that's like setting up a company that can really provide revenue and be profitable will be the way to guide us through what's needed in the community.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, I know at the present time, it is not that much important because we are already moving towards proof of stake. It was just purely out of curiosity. And on the same line, is there any plan for Beacon Chain client for Nethermind?
Yes, again, we started working on Beacon Chain client just probably a few months after everyone else started. I think it's a known story that I missed a meeting initializing like all the work on Ethereum 2. And then later I was so busy working on the Ethereum 1 that I didn't have enough time really to attend all the meetings, early meetings. So it was a bit, on one side, missed opportunity. On the other hand, I think that this would be too much for the size of the team that we had there. We built a lot. Like we worked with Sly Grython, who started the .NET implementation of the Beacon chain, and we tried to bring it. We tried to bring it under one umbrella of the Nethermind nodes working together. it was a bit too much effort. Only like, again, we couldn't cover that, and I couldn't work with Sly for so long. Nowadays, I would love to bring that project back to life, fully operational, but I realized that it would be a bit more of a just us wanting to build it, but not necessarily what community needs the most. If we have, like, why do I say the community doesn't necessarily need that the most? Because we have 5 fantastic consensus layer clients. One more, if we think that there is enough of the improvement and synergy from building both the execution layer and consensus layer that we can push things forward a bit, make it a challenge for others, then we would do that. So keep thinking, and maybe one day we'll build it. As always, open. Every now and then, someone at the company wants to come back to that code base or maybe build it again. There were some challenges. Like the biggest challenge for us was no Leap P2P implementation in .NET. So it was causing us a lot of trouble and potentially pushing us towards the major implementation challenge of having to implement Leap P2P from scratch. And this part we gave up, and we didn't want to run wrappers. It was also a bit, so yeah, we'll see.
That's interesting. I mean, it is always a good, if there was some opportunity missed, we are definitely doing something better on the other side. MEV and account abstraction, all these are good features which Nethermind is currently supporting, and hopefully will be adopted soon by the community. One question about the Click Solo, the Posmoni tool that you mentioned. Does it work with any specific EL and CL client combination? I mean, like, if it is with Nethermind, does it work with any specific consensus layer, or is it open for all?
Yes, it's open for all. So it's a tool that allows you to just quickly select of everything that you want to have deployed, and it's like pushes it, and here it goes, it runs. So we just consider that this configuration effort nowadays is one of the big risks. And having a tool that's simple enough to just say, okay, this is what I want for consensus layer. This is what I want for execution layer. I want to run MEV boost. And I want it to like make everything secure, safe, and ready for me. This is the idea, and for sure we wouldn't push any client, including Nethermind, and try to make it less of a tool for everyone just because of that. So everything can be run.
So does it mean that it can run with any execution client also, or?
Yes, okay. Yes.
Cool. That's very cool. As I hope that will help a lot of new people to join in as a validator. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think that's an important challenge for the ecosystem to make sure that the solo stakers, solo validators are represented, are covered, and can also participate equally in the MEV distribution. Otherwise, we have the risks to the decentralization of the network. So this has to be provided. And we spend a lot of time. I mean, when I say we, I don't mean now here at Nethermind, but more the core development and research teams that work on Ethereum together on thinking of how MEV will affect the network, how the network should be built to be resilient to any risks provided by MEV.
That's good. That's interesting. I hope this will also help in client diversity. Now people have choice to pick up, and there is a tool which supports, like, with one click, you can pick any of combination. That's really
for sure.
All right. My next question is related to syncing. You mentioned about snap sync. That is a default sync method with the present specs of Nethermind. Yet some users were experiencing some syncing issues post Grey Glacier upgrade. Would you like to maybe talk about it?
So, I mean, the syncing issues appear here and there in various combinations. I mean, as I say, this is over and over a challenge to have everything perfect. I think that the ones that you are referring to might be related to the just incorrect configuration. Once again, like there were situations when the users were upgrading the binaries of Nethermind, but not upgrading the config file, the chain spec, so-called chain spec, that defines some parameters that are extremely important for the correct chain behavior. So we provide documentation. I mean, whenever it happens that the users don't upgrade something, I still think it's our fault that this is not clear, the documentation doesn't cover it, or maybe that the client doesn't pick it up and doesn't say like, okay, it looks wrong to me. So we work on this. We introduced a lot of checks like this in the past. Like we try to detect any typos in configuration, in parameters, like just to prevent anyone from making mistakes that may lead to some decreased security of the node, or simply failures and need for resync. And we'll continue. I mean, the team is growing, so we'll continue contributing to stability, to sync times, to all the functionalities, to make sure supporting different chains. So yeah.
That's good to know. And you partially answered my next question, which is about the config issue. So in the Sepolia testnet merge, like it generally is considered to be good. However, it was reported that there were some config issues. If you can maybe for our listeners talk a little bit about what are the config issues and what are the common pitfall where a client node runner needs to be careful about. Is there anything that could be done to avoid this in future?
I think there are a few factors contributing to those problems with configuration. So I think Nethermind team has been raising that as one of the biggest risks to the merge in general, because the configurations are introduced very often quite late before the testnet forks, as like we had those situations when we had to manipulate properly the terminal total difficulty for Robston and Sepolia and so on, and this makes a bit of chaotic movements just before the fork happened. This doesn't really give enough time to inform everyone properly of how to configure that. Then also there is a bit of like a thing of confusion, or maybe like tiredness with those forks happening too often. I think the teams that are preparing the infrastructure now, every 2 or 3 weeks, have to reconfigure, and there are changes in between. So there is no stable configuration approach where they already get used to the same thing over and over again. Instead, they just like, there's some minor changes here. That's why I believe that this lead time before the mainnet merge is important to spend time. It's important to spend time then for as much education for the operators as possible. Like it will be in the end all in the hands of infrastructure operators, among them lots of solo stakers, to properly configure everything, update everything, upgrade. I think it was a good opportunity to force everyone to upgrade through the Gray Glacier, to make sure that people know, okay, they feel confident with this process, and start preparing them for the mainnet. And it's a lot. So the more we educate, the better result we'll have at the mainnet time. I think everyone should really take it into account that it might be not the client's implementations and the actual development that will lead to problems. There will be actual users that will not have enough knowledge or confidence to properly configure everything, and don't feel a bit of stressed just before the merge, right? Because I think that for everyone who's running a solo staker, even if the merge is success, if their node is failing, they don't see it as a success. Like they'll be very unhappy. So we need to make sure that it's success for every single solo staker.
That is good. Like, yeah, I understand success definition may vary from person to person. We are talking about a very big community here, so we can probably say it is a good success for Sepolia testnet, but for people for whom it did not work out, may not be that successful. I hope this is not there in the case of mainnet, because that's where the real money is involved. All yes. Right. Talking about the testnets, let's take a few steps back. As I understand, Nethermind has participated in almost all DevNets, and you did mention about your wonderful experience with Amphora testnet. Would you like to maybe talk about Nethermind's performance during the Interop session? Like, I'm asking for Nethermind because it is considered to be one of the minority client, as on the date, and like how did it perform in comparison to the majority clients? Were there any significant difference to be observed?
So during Amphora, it was still early days when much depended on when exactly teams were contributing developers' time to, okay, start focusing on the merge entirely. And I remember the Nethermind a few weeks before the Amphora, Marek and I think Marek and Sarah, or maybe Marek and Krzysztof actually. Marek and Krzysztof spend a lot of time preparing for Amphora, the code base for Amphora, saying, okay, we want to be ready there and want to be able to synchronize and really take that, use that time of being there with the consensus layer clients. And I could imagine the situation where we wouldn't have that lead time, where they wouldn't put that massive effort to just say like, okay, like we want to be ready. And maybe we'd start a few weeks later. So some of the execution layer clients started maybe a month or 2 months later, and it created this like perception of us doing better. But I think it was a lot of circumstances that could lead it to it. So we were doing well at Amphora, I think. So Geth was much better prepared at that time. Like majority of testing was happening with Geth. I think Marius van der Wieden and the team at Geth did amazing work of preparing. I remember Guillaume was doing a lot of effort for the merge. And I think I could say that from the execution clients, maybe we were just like behind Geth on the preparation side, but it's really hard to say, like to quantify. It's like who was better. We did well in the sense that we went through all the processes. I don't think that anyone was perfectly stable and like synchronization going for the merge. We did went through the sync for this like DevNet the merge on the Amphora. There was lots of stress of like trying to guess what's happening and rewriting the code base. I spent a lot of time coding there on site and trying to, like I don't code that often anymore for the last year. So like it was like probably one of the biggest coding sessions for me then. Yeah, everyone was putting a lot of effort, and then since then we like constantly code and improve.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, like it's really difficult to quantify, although we observed like in the Kensuke when it was 3-way split, get Besu and Nethermind all were in the same line. And I believe Nethermind was kind of savior there, right, for that split, like it helped. So I'm happy to know that there were not major differences between the minority client and the majority client, as we say it now. Talking about that, the combination, do you think there is any perfect or near to perfect EL and CL combo? Though I have heard a lot of good words about Nethermind. I have interviewed many other clients on consensus layer. They were talking all good points. So if there is any preferred or you think is the best one?
Yeah, I remember in the past when I was choosing like among different clients for particular purpose, when I was downloading some applications, very often I would just simply choose something that was less popular because I wanted to go against the stream, or something that had a nice logo or a nice name. So everyone will have their own perfect combination, and it might be different for everyone. So that would be great. Like if people start to feel like it's a bit of just a commodity, almost like any choice. If they feel super confident that whatever they choose, it will be stable and good, but it may have some slightly different flavor for them that delivers maybe like a 1 or 2 niche things that just scatters nicely to 10-20% of the users. Because yeah, I think like if you have 20-25 combinations, then you simply want around like 4% of the network to run particular combinations. So really, this will be the perfect spread of this usage. So I guess, I don't know, like we should build some randomizer for people. So maybe OneClick should have a randomizer where you just press the button and it says like, this is your combination it should be running. I think maybe that helps.
That's a good tool idea for people to maybe look into. All right. My next is client diversity. The client diversity in execution client side is a concern. As on date, it's like 80% plus market share is owned by Get team. However, I understand the reason may be the mining option that was available with Git, but wasn't available with most of the minority clients. I'll be really curious to hear your thoughts on client diversity and how do you think Nethermind will be able to increase the current market share when it comes to post-merge?
So there are a few things that I think we do really well. So nowadays, especially when we have this much larger team, I think we're confident that we can deliver all the different innovations coming from other teams when they happen. We had a lot of fantastic solutions of our own that were introduced in the last years, so that those are already in the client. The diversity of clients is super important. So like I feel this is our biggest mission to get the market share of the the share of the network to run it on Nethermind. And yes, after proof of work is no longer the consensus, we should see the situation when all the operators or validators have to choose between the execution clients. They'll be choosing different ones because they will have to spread it to make sure that they are safer during some potential slashing events. Like we've seen the failures of majority clients in the past, and if they would stay at 80%, this would be problematic. This would be more expensive for the operators than if they spread their execution clients share. So I think we should see it. I mean, like after we transition, we should see much more well spread the selection of clients. So that's my expectation. If this doesn't happen, I'll be a bit of a surprise, a bit of disappointment, and something would mean that something went wrong really with the development. So, and I don't think it will be like this. So, what is particularly interesting with Nethermind now, I think the MEV support and ability to run the simulations, like the plugins for searchers, especially now when the solo. I think it's extremely exciting, this kind of lottery when the solo stakers will be able to suddenly land a block of 100 ETH during market conditions. I mean, can you imagine someone just deploys 32 ETH validator and lands 100 ETH in a year? This will be super fun. So I think people will start looking at MEV a bit more. We'll get interested in how it works and what are really the payments and what are really the times when the blocks are extremely profitable.
Yes, of course. I mean, there are a lot of opportunities coming up post-merge, so we should be looking forward to it. I know we are very close to time. I have one question that may be very useful for new people. Where can one find resources for running execution client Nethermind? And if it is available in with different CL client combinations, that would be great.
Yes, I think like the one source of links or direct information would be our documentation site, which is docs.nethermind.io. And also that's looking now at the slide that is displayed all the time. So it's not hello@nethermind.com, it's .io. So if you wanted to send us an email, all the information is there, plus on various Medium articles that we provide, that we write. So it's always a challenge to find fantastic technical writers. You have them come and go and move, and we really care about like what they build, and they have all the different like plans for future. So if you are super knowledgeable about Ethereum, you want to write about Ethereum, there's like super hard things like how to deploy everything, how to run everything, that we always invite people. Like we look for more technical writers on the team, and the team is preparing all those articles. So like when we deploy one click, we provide the explanation of how to run one click. So for sure, if you go to GitHub one click for Nethermind, you will see the materials of how to launch and deploy different client combinations. If you find our Medium pages, you'll find info. And we keep follow us on Twitter, and we'll keep posting this one, and so on and so on.
Awesome. It's time to wrap up. Any message for Nethermind users or the Ethereum community at large?
Well, thank you so much for staying with us, for driving us through all those times and allowing us to grow. So it's amazing. yeah, it's just all the time saying thank you, and we'll continue just doing everything we can to make Ethereum a massive success, to always be there when things are tough, when things are getting better. Like the team is growing and the team is always staying with Ethereum.
Sweet. I hope information shared today will help validator considering running Nethermind as an execution node. Tomasz, we appreciate you taking out time and talking about Nethermind and the merge preparation.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me and inviting Nethermind to present.
And on this note, thanks to everyone watching or listening to this special episode on the merge. Should you have any question, leave a comment or reach us at ETHCatHerders Discord. Check out descriptions for links to useful resources and guest Twitter to follow. We have got more merge special talks coming up, so stay tuned and keep sharing your love with Ethereum Cat Herders. Have a good one, everyone.